The knife was heavier than Sarah expected. Silver, ancient. The blade etched with runes that seemed to writhe in the candlelight like living things. Her hand trembled as she raised it over the stone altar, the weight of what she was about to do pressing down on her lungs until breathing felt like drowning. "You're certain?" Grandmother Thessa's voice cut through the incense smoke, sharp and unforgiving. "Once you spill virgin blood in the breaking circle, there's no undoing it. The old gods don't accept refunds, child." Sarah's jaw tightened. "I'm certain." Behind her, through the crumbling temple walls, she could hear them, the Blood Moon Pack celebrating her impending bond ceremony. Drums, laughter, the kind of joy that came from watching a sacrifice dressed up as tradition. They were celebrating her cage. In 3 hours, she would be dragged before the pack and bound to Callum Voss, the beta heir who'd claimed her as his fated mate the moment she'd turned 18. Never mind that his fated bond felt like iron chains around her soul. Never mind that his touch made her skin crawl. Never mind that she'd rather die than spend eternity tethered to a man whose idea of affection was controlling who she spoke to. The Lycan Council called it destiny. Sarah called it a prison sentence. "The blood rite will sever the bond," Grandmother Thessa continued, her gnarled fingers arranging obsidian bowls around the altar. "But the price is steep. Your virginity offered to the old gods, your future unmapped, your connection to pack magic uncertain." "Callum is the uncertain part," Sarah said flatly. "Everything else is just details. Bold words for a girl who's never disobeyed a direct order in her life." "Then it's time I started." Grandmother Thessa's laugh was dry as autumn leaves. "You remind me of your mother. She was stubborn too. Look where it got her. Dead. It got her dead. Killed by rogues when Sarah was 6 because the pack refused to send reinforcement to the border territories they deemed expendable. But Sarah didn't say that. She just pressed the blade against her palm and whispered the words Grandmother Thessa had made her memorize. Words in the old tongue. Words that tasted like copper and smoke and desperation. "By blood I came. By blood I break. By blood I claim my freedom or forsake." The temple doors exploded inward. Sarah spun, knife clattering to the stone floor. A man filled the doorway. No, not a man. Something more. Something that made every instinct in Sarah's body scream predator while simultaneously whispering submit. Before we continue, hit the subscribe and like button and tell me what the weather looks like in your location. I love to know. Now let's dive in. He was massive, easily 6.5 feet of muscle and controlled violence wrapped in black leather, and an aura of absolute authority. Dark hair fell to his shoulders, partially obscuring a face too sharp to be merely handsome. Scars traced his jaw and neck like a roadmap of survival. And his eyes, gods, his eyes, molten gold, ancient, burning with an intensity that made Sarah forget how to breathe. "Well," he said, his voice like gravel and silk, "this is unexpected." Grandmother Thessa dropped into a bow so low her forehead nearly touched the floor. "Your Majesty." "We didn't. The wards should have." "Your Majesty." Ice flooded Sarah's veins. She was looking at Kieran Ashenblade. The Lycan King. The Blood Crown. The man who'd unified the warring packs 20 years ago through a combination of strategic brilliance and overwhelming brutality. The most dangerous wolf in existence. And she'd just tried to perform an illegal blood rite in his territory. "Forgive us, your majesty," Grandmother Thessa stammered. "The girl is young, foolish." "The girl has a name," Sarah heard herself say. Grandmother Thessa made a strangled sound. Kieran's attention locked onto Sarah like a predator sighting prey. He moved into the temple with fluid, unhurried grace, closing the distance between them in 3 long strides. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "Seraphine." Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "Seraphine Ashford, and before you have me arrested, I'd like to state for the record that I was attempting to break a fated bond, not commit treason. Breaking a fated bond is treason." Kieran circled the altar, his gaze taking in the ritual setup, the silver blade, the half-completed spell. "The bond laws exist for pact stability. You know this." "The bond laws exist to control Omegas," Sarah countered, anger overriding self-preservation. "To trap us in bonds we never chose with men who see us as property. And your fated mate sees you as property. He sees me as a pretty accessory to parade around, slightly better than property. Not by much." Kieran stopped circling, studied her with those unsettling gold eyes. "Callum Voss, the Blood Moon Beta heir. You know him?" "I know of him. Arrogant, entitled. Uses his fated bond status to bully Omegas into submission." Kieran's expression didn't change, but something dangerous flickered in his gaze. "Not a good man." "No," Sarah agreed quietly. "He's not." Silence stretched between them, heavy with implications. Then Kieran picked up the silver blade from where Sarah had dropped it, tested its weight. The runes along the edge began to glow in his hand, actual light, pulsing and alive. "This is a breaking blade," he said, "forbidden for 2 centuries. Where did you get it?" "Family heirloom," Grandmother Thessa croaked. "Please, your majesty, the girl meant no." "She meant exactly what she was doing." Kieran's eyes never left Sarah. "Didn't you, Seraphine?" "Yes. You were going to offer your virginity to the old gods, spill your blood in their name, break a fated bond despite knowing the magical backlash could kill you." He tilted his head. "That's either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Can't it be both?" The corner of his mouth twitched. Almost a smile. "I suppose it can." He set the blade back on the altar. Stepped closer. Close enough that Sarah could smell him. Pine and smoke, and something wild that made her pulse spike. "I'll make you a deal, Seraphine Ashford," Kieran said quietly. "I can break your bond to Callum Voss. Cleanly. No blood rite required. No risk of death." Sarah's breath caught. "Why would you do that?" "Because I don't believe in forced bonds." His gaze dropped to her throat, where the mating mark would appear once the ceremony completed. "And because I'm curious." "About what?" "About what kind of Omega is brave enough to attempt a blood rite alone, strong enough to challenge me to my face, desperate enough to trade her virginity for freedom." Kieran leaned in, his voice dropping to something that felt like a caress and a threat. "I want to know what you taste like when you're not drowning in another man's bond." Heat flooded Sarah's body, dangerous, traitorous heat. "That's not—" she started. "Here are my terms," Kieran interrupted smoothly. "I break your bond to Voss. You give me 3 months. 3 months of what?" His smile was pure predatory satisfaction. "Whatever I want." Sarah's world tilted. "That's insane." "That's the offer." Kieran straightened, putting calculated distance between them. 3 months in my court, under my protection, doing whatever I ask, whenever I ask it. His eyes gleamed. At the end of 3 months, if you still want your freedom, I'll release you. No bond, no obligation, you walk away free. And if I refuse, then you go back to Callum Voss, complete the bond ceremony, spend the rest of your life exactly where you are now. He paused. Or you finish the blood rite and hope you survive the backlash, your choice. It wasn't a choice. It was a trap wrapped in salvation. But Sarah was already drowning, and Kiran Ashenblade, dangerous, powerful, terrifying, was offering her a lifeline, even if that lifeline had teeth. 3 months, she whispered, and then I'm free. 3 months, Kiran confirmed, and then we'll see. We'll see. Not a promise, a warning. Sarah looked at Grandmother Thessa, who was pale and trembling, looked at the breaking blade on the altar, looked at the door, where freedom or destruction waited in equal measure. Then she looked at Kiran Ashenblade and made her choice. Deal. His smile was devastating. Good girl, he murmured. Now let's go break a bond. He offered his hand, and Sarah, terrified, desperate, alive for the first time in months, took it. The Blood Moon Pack celebration died the moment Kiran walked into the clearing. Drums stopped mid-beat. Laughter choked into silence. 300 wolves froze, their instincts recognizing apex predator even before their eyes confirmed it. Sarah felt Kieran's hand tighten around hers, not possessive but anchoring. Like he knew her knees wanted to buckle under the weight of every stare now burning into her. Callum stood on the ceremonial platform mid-speech, his mouth still open around words that would never come. He was handsome in the conventional way, golden hair, strong jaw, the kind of face that photographed well and hid cruelty expertly. His eyes found Sarah, then dropped to her hand in Kieran's. The rage that twisted his features was almost worth everything that would come next. Your Majesty. Alpha Mordrin, Blood Moon's pack leader, recovered first, dropping into a bow that looked more like controlled panic. We weren't expecting. This is a private ceremony. Not anymore, Kieran's voice carried across the clearing without him raising it, command woven into every syllable. I'm here for the Omega. Murmurs rippled through the crowd like a shockwave. Callum stepped forward, his beta aura flaring. With respect, Your Majesty, Seraphine is my fated mate. Our bond ceremony begins in minutes. You have no right. I have every right. Kiran released Sarah's hand, but positioned himself slightly in front of her, subtle, protective. I'm invoking the king's claim. The crowd erupted. Sarah's blood turned to ice. What's the king's claim? An old law, Grandmother Thessa whispered from behind them. She'd followed, wringing her hands. Allows the Lycan king to claim any unmated wolf for royal service. It hasn't been invoked in over 50 years. She's not unmated, Callum snarled, jumping off the platform. The bond ceremony hasn't happened yet, Kieran finished calmly, which makes her fair game, his gold eyes fixed on Callum with predatory focus. Unless you're suggesting I don't have the authority to claim wolves in my own kingdom. I'm suggesting, Callum bit out, barely controlled fury vibrating through every word, that you're overstepping. Everyone knows fated bonds are sacred. The moment I recognized her as mine. You recognized her, Kieran interrupted. She didn't recognize you back. Did she, Seraphine? Every head turned. Sarah's throat went dry. This was it. The moment she either condemned herself or saved herself. No middle ground. No, she said, forcing her voice steady. I never felt the bond. Gasps, whispers, The kind of scandal that would echo through pack territories for months. "She's lying," Callum snapped. "She felt it. She told me." "I told you what you wanted to hear," Sarah interrupted, surprised by her own courage. "Because saying no to a beta heir isn't exactly safe for an Omega with no family protection." "You little—" Callum lunged. Kieran moved. One moment he was standing still. The next he was between them, one hand wrapped around Callum's throat, lifting him off his feet like he weighed nothing. "Touch her," Kieran said quietly, "and I'll rip your spine out through your chest." The casual way he said it, like commenting on weather, made it infinitely more terrifying. Alpha Mordrin stepped forward, hands raised. "Your Majesty, please. Callum is young, hot-headed, but this is still—" "Still what?" Kieran dropped Callum, who crumpled to his knees, gasping. "Still acceptable? Still pack business?" His gaze swept the crowd. "Let me be clear. Any pack that forces bonds on unwilling Omegas is no pack of mine. Any beta who claims a mate didn't feel the bond is either delusional or lying." He looked down at Callum with contempt. "Which are you?" Callum's jaw worked. "The bond is real. She felt it. She's just confused." "I'm not confused." Sarah stepped out from behind Kieran, her heart hammering but her voice clear. "I don't want this bond. I never wanted it. And if the only way to escape it is to leave with the Lycan King, then that's what I'm doing." "You don't know what you're doing," Callum hissed, climbing to his feet. "You think he's saving you? He's a monster, Sarah. The Blood Crown. They call him that because he wades through bodies to get what he wants." "And yet," Sarah said, meeting Callum's glare, "I feel safer with him than I ever did with you." The words landed like a physical blow. Callum's expression cracked, humiliation and rage bleeding through. "You'll regret this." "Maybe." Sarah lifted her chin. "But at least it'll be my choice to regret." Kieran's hand returned to the small of her back. "We're done here." "Wait." Alpha Mordrin's voice carried desperation. "The bond, if she leaves now, Callum will suffer bond rejection. It could kill him. Then he'll die," Kieran said flatly. "Or he'll survive and learn that forced bonds have consequences." He guided Sarah toward the clearing's edge, where a massive black horse waited. "Either way, not my problem." They were almost to the horse when Sarah felt it. A tearing sensation in her chest, like invisible threads she hadn't known existed, were being yanked free from her ribcage. She gasped, stumbling. Kieran caught her immediately. "The bond breaking. Hold on." Behind them, Callum screamed. It wasn't physical pain, it was worse. The sound of a bond being severed, of destiny being rejected, raw and agonizing and echoing across the clearing. Every wolf felt it. The wrongness, the violation of something sacred. And Sarah, despite everything, despite hating Callum, despite choosing this, felt guilt lance through her at the sound of his suffering. "Don't," Kieran murmured against her ear, somehow reading her. "He would have chained you forever and called it love. You owe him nothing." The tearing sensation peaked, excruciating, then snapped. Silence. The bond was gone. Sarah could breathe again, actually breathe. The constant pressure of Callum's presence in the back of her mind, the phantom weight of his expectations, the suffocating inevitability. Gone. She was free. Tears spilled over before she could stop them. "Thank you," she whispered. Kieran lifted her onto the horse, then swung up behind her, his arms caging her securely. "Don't thank me yet, little Omega. You just agreed to 3 months as mine. You don't even know what that means." His breath was warm against her neck. his body solid and dangerous at her back. "What does it mean?" Sarah asked, suddenly very aware of how alone they were about to be. Kieran's laugh was dark silk. "You'll find out soon enough." He kicked the horse into motion. And as they rode away from the Blood Moon pack, away from Callum's broken screams and the life she'd almost been forced into, Sarah felt two things simultaneously. Relief so profound it was dizzying, and fear so sharp it tasted like blood. Because she'd escaped one cage. But she had no idea what she'd just walked into. The Lycan King's smile promised she was about to find out. The journey to the capital took 6 hours. 6 hours of Kieran's body pressed against her back. 6 hours of his arms bracketing her as he controlled the horse. 6 hours of trying not to notice how he smelled, dark spice and winter storms, or how her traitorous body responded every time his breath ghosted across her neck. By the time the Iron Keep came into view, Sarah's nerves were frayed to nothing. The castle rose from black stone cliffs like something carved from nightmares. 7 towers pierced the sky, their peaks disappearing into low clouds. Torches burned along the walls despite the daylight, casting everything in shades of amber and shadow. "Welcome to your new home," Kieran said against her ear. "Try not to run screaming." "Is that a common occurrence?" "You'd be surprised." The gates opened before they reached them, massive iron things that groaned like dying creatures. Guards lined the courtyard, each one dropping to a knee as Kieran passed. Not out of love, Sarah realized. Out of fear. He dismounted first, then lifted her down with hands that spanned her waist completely. For a moment they stood close enough that Sarah had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. "Nervous?" he asked. "Terrified." "Good. Fear keeps you sharp." His thumb brushed her jaw. "Casual. Possessive. Rule 1. You go nowhere in this castle without my permission. Understood?" Sarah's spine stiffened. "I'm not a prisoner." "No. You're something far more interesting." Kieran's smile was knife-sharp. "You're mine for 3 months. That means my protection, my rules, my authority. You wanted freedom from Callum's control?" His hand slid to her throat, not squeezing, just resting there. "Careful what you wish for, little Omega." Heat flooded her body. Dangerous, confusing heat. Before Sarah could respond, footsteps echoed across the courtyard. A woman emerged from the keep's entrance, tall, elegant, with midnight hair and eyes like chips of ice. She wore formal court attire that screamed power and moved like someone who'd never been told no in her life. "Kieran." Her voice was silk over steel. "You missed the council meeting." "I had more important business." Kieran's hand dropped from Sarah's throat, but he didn't step away. "Mira, meet Seraphine Ashford. She'll be staying in the East Wing." Mira's gaze raked over Sarah with calculated disdain. "Another stray? How charitable." "Watch your tone," Kieran said mildly. "Seraphine is under my direct protection. That makes her untouchable." Something dangerous flickered across Mira's face. "Of course, Your Majesty. I'll have the servants prepare a room." She looked at Sarah. "Try not to break anything. The last Omega who stayed here didn't end well." Ice slithered down Sarah's spine. What happened to her? She forgot her place. Mira's smile was all teeth. "The castle has a way of reminding people." "Mira." Kieran's voice dropped to something lethal. "Leave." Mira's expression smoothed instantly. She bowed, perfect, practiced, and disappeared back into the keep. "Who was that?" Sarah asked. "Lady Mira Blackthorn, my cousin, second in line to the throne." Kieran started walking, clearly expecting Sarah to follow. She's also venomous, ambitious, and convinced she should be queen, instead of waiting for me to produce an heir. Don't trust her. Anyone else I shouldn't trust? Everyone. Kieran glanced back, something dark glittering in his eyes. Including me. They entered the keep through doors carved with wolves tearing each other apart, a cheerful welcome, and into corridors that seemed to swallow light. Torches burned in iron sconces, casting more shadows than illumination. Sarah felt eyes watching from every alcove, every doorway. Servants who vanished the moment she looked their direction, guards whose hands rested on weapon hilts. This wasn't a castle. It was a war zone pretending to be civilized. Here. Kieran stopped before an ornate door, pushed it open. The room beyond stole Sarah's breath. Massive, opulent. A four-poster bed dominated the space, draped in black silk. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the valley below. Candles burned everywhere, making the room glow like captured starlight. And in the corner, laid out carefully on a velvet chair, a dress. Not just any dress, something made for royalty. Deep crimson silk that shimmered like fresh blood, cut low and dangerous. "What is that?" Sarah whispered. "Your outfit for tonight." Kieran leaned against the doorframe, watching her with predatory patience. "We're having a small gathering. 200 wolves, council members, pack alphas, nobles." His smile was pure wickedness. "I want them to meet my new acquisition." "I'm not an acquisition. Tonight you are." Kieran pushed off the frame, stalked toward her with liquid grace. "Tonight, you're the Omega the Lycan king claimed from a fated bond, the girl who chose me over destiny." He stopped inches away. "They'll be watching every move you make, every breath, looking for weakness. Why are you telling me this?" "Because Rule 2, Kieran's hand cupped her face, thumb tracing her bottom lip, "is that when we're in public, you play your role perfectly. You're mine. You want to be mine. You chose this." His eyes burned into hers. "Can you do that, Seraphine?" Her name in his mouth felt like a brand. "And what happens," Sarah breathed, "when we're not in public?" Kieran's smile turned devastating. "Then you find out why they call me the Blood Crown." He stepped back, leaving her cold and confused and burning all at once. "Dinner is at sunset. Don't be late." He moved toward the door, then paused. "Oh, and Seraphine, that dress?" His gaze raked over her slowly. "When you put it on, remember, you're not just wearing it for them." "Who am I wearing it for?" His answering smile was pure sin. "Me." The door closed behind him with a finality that sounded like a trap snapping shut. Sarah stared at the crimson dress, at the opulent cage masquerading as a room, at the future she'd chosen in a moment of desperation, and wondered, not for the first time, definitely not for the last, what exactly she'd agreed to. 3 months with the Lycan king. 3 months of whatever he wanted. Outside, thunder rumbled. The storm was just beginning. The dress fit like a second skin. Sarah stared at her reflection, barely recognizing herself. The crimson silk clung to every curve, the neckline plunging dangerously low, the slit revealing far too much leg. Her hair had been swept up by silent servants who'd appeared and disappeared like ghosts, leaving her looking like something between a queen and a sacrifice. She looked powerful. She felt terrified. A knock interrupted her spiral, not Kieran. The energy was wrong. The door opened before she could respond. A man entered, young, maybe mid-20s, with copper hair and easy smile that seemed genuine. Unlike everyone else she'd met, He didn't look at her like she was prey. Seraphine Ashford. He bowed, casual, almost playful. Demon striker, the king's strategist, occasional conscience, and full-time problem solver. His eyes sparkled with mischief. Also the only person in this castle who'll tell you the truth. The truth about what? Everything. Damon moved to the window, gazing at the valley below. Kiran sent me to escort you to dinner, and to give you a crash course in surviving the Iron Keep. That sounds ominous. It should. Demon turned, his expression sobering. Listen carefully. Tonight, every wolf in that room will be testing you. They'll want to know if you're a threat, a weakness, or just entertainment. He paused. Kiran's enemies will try to use you against him. His allies will try to manipulate you. And Mira, his jaw tightened. Mira will try to destroy you. Why are you telling me this? Because I like underdogs, and because... Damon hesitated, something complicated crossing his face. Because Kiran needs someone who isn't afraid of him. Someone real. His gaze sharpened. Are you real, Seraphine? Or are you just another Omega looking for power? I'm just trying to survive, Sarah said honestly. Demon studied her for a long moment, then smiled. Good answer. Come on, let's feed you to the wolves. The great hall was breathtaking and terrifying in equal measure. Vaulted ceilings disappeared into shadow. Chandeliers dripped with candles, casting everything in golden light. Long tables stretched the length of the room, filled with wolves dressed in finery that probably cost more than Sarah's entire village, and at the head table, seated on a throne carved from black stone, Kiran. He wore formal court attire now, black leather and silver threading that made him look even more dangerous than before. His hair was pulled back, revealing the full, devastating impact of his face. When his eyes found hers across the room, everything else faded. The crowd noticed. Whispers rippled like wildfire. Walk with confidence, Demon murmured beside her. Like you belong here. Sarah lifted her chin and crossed the hall. Every step felt like a mile. Every gaze felt like a brand. But she didn't falter, didn't hesitate, didn't give them the satisfaction of seeing her fear. When she reached the head table, Kiran stood. The room went silent. Seraphine. He descended from the throne, closing the distance between them with predatory grace. You look. His eyes raked over her slowly, deliberately. Acceptable. The casual dismissal stung. But then Sarah saw it. The flash of heat in his gaze, quickly controlled. He was playing a role too. Thank you, Your Majesty, she said, matching his tone. Kiran's lips quirked. He offered his arm. Come, let me introduce you to your new world. The next hour was torture dressed as diplomacy. Alpha after alpha, noble after noble, each one smiling with their mouths while their eyes calculated her worth. Sarah smiled back, played the role, let Kiran guide her through conversations that felt like verbal combat. Mira appeared halfway through, her dress somehow more revealing, more expensive. Seraphine. What a unique choice of color. Her gaze dropped to Sarah's neckline. Bold. Some might say desperate. Some might say confident, Sarah countered smoothly. Mira's smile sharpened. Tell me, how does it feel to know you're a replacement? Kiran has a habit of collecting broken Omegas. None of them last. Mira, Kiran's voice cut like a blade. Don't you have someone else to poison? Just making conversation. Mira's gaze flicked between them. Although I am curious, What exactly did Seraphine offer to make you break a fated bond? That's not exactly your style. The room went silent, everyone listening now. Kieran's hand slid to Sarah's waist, pulling her against his side. The possessive gesture was deliberate, calculated for the audience. She offered, Kieran said softly, dangerously, to be interesting. Something you've never managed. Cousin! Gasps. Barely contained laughter. Mira's face went white with rage. You'll regret this. I doubt it. Kieran's attention shifted back to Sarah, dismissing Mira completely. Dance with me. I don't know how. Then I'll teach you. He pulled her toward the center of the hall, where space cleared instantly. Music swelled, something slow and dangerously intimate. Kieran's hands settled on her waist. Sarah's went to his shoulders, her heart hammering so hard she was certain he could hear it. You handled that well, he murmured as they began to move. I wanted to run, but you didn't. His eyes searched hers. Why? Because you told me to play my role. Sarah met his gaze. And because I refused to give her the satisfaction. Something flickered across Kieran's face. Approval. Surprise. It was gone too quickly to name. You're stronger than I expected, he said quietly. Desperation makes you strong. No. Kieran pulled her closer, close enough that Sarah could feel the heat radiating from his body. Desperation makes you reckless. You're something else entirely. What am I? His smile was devastating. I'm still trying to figure that out. The music swelled. Karan spun her, and for a moment, just a moment, Sarah forgot where she was. Forgot the audience, the danger, the 3-month bargain. Then she saw him. A man at the edge of the hall, watching with eyes that burned with recognition and something darker. He nodded once, deliberately, and Sarah's blood turned to ice because she knew that face, knew it from whispered warnings, from nightmares about rogues and border raids and her mother's death. That was Ronan Ash, the rogue king, and he was here, in Kieran's castle. Kieran? She started. I know, he murmured against her ear. We have bigger problems than Mira. Who is he? Someone who shouldn't be here. Kieran's arms tightened around her. Someone who wants something from me. And I think... His voice dropped to something cold. I just figured out what. What? Kieran pulled back just enough to meet her eyes. You. The music ended. The hall erupted in polite applause, and across the room, the rogue king smiled. Kieran didn't let her leave his side for the rest of the evening. His hand remained at her waist, possessive, protective, a warning to everyone watching. Sarah felt the tension radiating from him, coiled violence barely restrained beneath courtly manners. Ronan Ash didn't approach. He didn't need to. His presence alone was a threat, a promise. A game piece moved into position. Why is he here? Sarah whispered during a lull in conversation. Peace negotiations, Kieran said flatly. The council thinks we can turn rogues into allies. His jaw tightened. I think they're idiots. And you let him in anyway? Politics. The word dripped with contempt. Sometimes keeping your enemies close means inviting them to dinner and pretending not to notice their knives. When the meal finally ended, courses that Sarah barely tasted, Kieran escorted her from the hall personally. But instead of taking her back to her room, he guided her through a side corridor, up a spiral staircase, and into a tower room she hadn't seen before. His private study. Books lined the walls, maps covered every surface. A fire crackled in the hearth, casting dancing shadows across weapons mounted above it. This room felt lived in, real, the first genuine space she'd seen in the entire castle. Sit, Kieran ordered, pouring 2 glasses of something amber. Sarah perched on the edge of a leather chair. Are you going to tell me what's happening? Ronan Ash claims he wants peace. Kieran handed her a glass, then leaned against his desk. He's lying. How do you know? Because I know Ronan. Kieran's expression darkened. We grew up together, before he went rogue, before he started building his own pack from cast-offs and exiles. He swirled his drink. He doesn't want peace. He wants chaos. And you, his eyes locked on hers, just became his newest tool. Sarah's throat tightened. I don't understand. Tonight, everyone saw me claim you publicly, saw me break a fated bond for you, saw me dance with you like you matter. Kieran's voice went cold. Ronan's smart enough to recognize a weakness when he sees one. I'm not your weakness. Aren't you? Kieran pushed off the desk, stalked toward her with predatory focus. 3 hours ago, I had no vulnerabilities. Now I have an Omega under my protection, who every enemy in this castle knows I broke laws to acquire. He stopped in front of her, close enough to touch. That makes you leverage, Seraphine. That makes you a target. Then send me away. No. The finality in his voice was absolute. Why not? Sarah demanded. If I'm such a liability. Because I don't abandon what's mine. Kieran's hand cupped her jaw, tilting her face up. And I made you a deal. 3 months. I keep my promises. Even if it costs you. Especially then. His thumb traced her bottom lip, and Sarah's breath hitched. Besides, Ronan made a mistake tonight. What mistake? Kieran's smile was pure predatory satisfaction. He showed his hand too early. Now I know he's planning something. Now I can prepare. His eyes burned into hers. And now he knows that touching you means declaring war on me personally. Before Sarah could respond, a knock interrupted them. Enter, Kieran called, stepping back. Demon entered, his usual easy expression replaced by grim concern. We have a problem. Another one? Callum Voss is here, at the gates, demanding entry under the Blood Challenge law. Sarah's heart stopped. What's the Blood Challenge? An ancient rite, Demon explained. If a male believes his fated mate was stolen, he can challenge the thief to combat. Winner takes the Omega. Ice flooded Sarah's veins. No, the bond is broken. The bond is broken, Kieran agreed. But the challenge law predates bond magic. It's based on claim, not connection. His expression went lethal. Callum thinks he can win you back through violence. Can he? Sarah whispered. Only if he kills me. Kieran moved toward the door. Which he won't. Kieran, wait. Sarah caught his arm. You can't fight him. This is insane. Just tell him no. If I refuse, I look weak. Every alpha in the kingdom will question my authority. Kieran's jaw set. And Ronan will use that weakness to destabilize everything I've built. So you'll risk your life because of politics. I'll risk my life, Kieran corrected softly. Because you're under my protection. And I protect what's mine. The possessiveness in his voice should have frightened her. Instead, it made her feel safer than she'd felt in years. What if you lose? She asked. Kieran's laugh was dark and dangerous. I won't. He left, Demon trailing behind, leaving Sarah alone with her terror. Minutes crawled past like hours. Then Mira appeared in the doorway, her smile victorious. Come, little Omega, you'll want to watch this. Her eyes gleamed with malicious delight. After all, Your future is being decided in blood. Sarah's hands clenched into fists. You arranged this. Me? I simply mentioned to Callum where you were. What he chose to do with that information. Mira's shrug was elegant, cruel. Well, that's hardly my fault. If Kieran dies, you go back to Callum. Or, Mira's smile sharpened, you become available for a new bond. Either way, you lose. She turned to leave, then paused. The challenge takes place in the courtyard. You have 5 minutes to decide if you're brave enough to watch the man who saved you possibly die for you. She disappeared. Sarah stood frozen, her mind racing. She could stay here, hide in this tower, pretend she didn't care what happened, or she could face it. Watch, bear witness to the consequences of her choice. Her feet moved before conscious thought caught up, down the spiral stairs, through corridors that seemed endless, out into the courtyard where torches blazed and wolves gathered in a circle. In the center, Kieran and Callum. Kieran had stripped to the waist, revealing a body covered in scars that told stories of survival. Callum looked smaller somehow, less impressive, despite his size. Their eyes met across the distance, and Kieran smiled, cold, lethal, certain. First blood or death, the challenge master called. Death, Callum said. The crowd gasped. Kieran's expression didn't change. So be it. The challenge master raised his hand. Begin! Callum attacked immediately, all rage and desperation. Kieran moved like water, like shadow, like something that had been killing since before Callum was born. It wasn't even close. 3 moves. That's all it took. Kieran disarmed Callum, broke his leg, and had him on his knees with a blade pressed to his throat. Yield, Kieran said quietly. Never, Callum spat. She's mine. Kieran's blade moved. Blood sprayed across ancient stone. Callum's body hit the ground with finality, and Sarah, watching, unable to look away, realized something terrifying. She wasn't horrified. She was relieved. Sarah couldn't move. Callum's body lay motionless in the courtyard, blood pooling beneath him like a dark mirror. The crowd had gone silent, not shocked, but waiting, watching for her reaction. Kieran cleaned his blade with deliberate slowness. When he finally looked up, his eyes found hers across the distance. No apology, no regret, just cold, absolute certainty. He'd killed for her, and he'd do it again. Remove the body, Kieran ordered, his voice carrying the weight of command. And send word to the Blood Moon Pack. Their beta heir challenged the Lycan king and lost. They'll want to collect what's left. Guards moved immediately. The crowd began to disperse, murmuring. Mira stood at the edge of the courtyard, her expression unreadable, but her eyes burning with something between fury and calculation. Kieran crossed to Sarah, still shirtless, still covered in another man's blood. Inside, he said quietly. Now. She followed numbly, her mind struggling to process what she'd witnessed. Back through corridors, up the spiral stairs, into his study, where the fire still burned as if nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Kieran poured himself a drink, downed it, poured another. Say something, he ordered. You killed him. Sarah's voice sounded distant, detached. You didn't have to. He was already beaten. You could have... Could have what? Kieran spun to face her. Let him live so he could challenge me again. So he could spread rumors that the Lycan king shows mercy to wolves who try to steal his claimed mates. His eyes flashed gold. This is not your old world, Seraphine. This is the Iron Keep. Mercy is weakness. Weakness is death. He was a person. He was a threat. Kieran stalked toward her. He forced a bond on you, controlled you, would have spent your entire life making you regret running. He stopped inches away. And tonight, he came here willing to kill me, to drag you back to that cage. So yes, I killed him. And I'd do it again, without hesitation. Sarah's breath came in short gasps. I should be horrified. But you're not. Kieran's hand came up, cupping her face with surprising gentleness, despite the blood still on his skin. Are you, little Omega? She wasn't. Gods help her, she wasn't. What does that make me? She whispered. Human. Kieran's thumb brushed her cheekbone. You survived an abusive bond. Watched the man who tormented you die. Feeling relief doesn't make you a monster. It makes you honest. Tears burned Sarah's eyes. I didn't want him dead. I just wanted him gone. They're the same thing in this world. A knock interrupted them. Demon entered without waiting for permission, his expression grim. Ronan wants a meeting. Tonight. Private. Kieran's jaw tightened. No. He says it's about the Omega. Demon's gaze flicked to Sarah. Says he has information about her mother's death. The floor dropped out from under Sarah. What? It's bait, Kieran said immediately. He's manipulating you. My mother died 15 years ago. Sarah's voice shook. Rogues killed her. What could he possibly know? Everything, apparently. Demon pulled out a sealed letter. He sent this. Said you'd want to read it before deciding. Sarah snatched the parchment, broke the seal. The words inside made her blood run cold. Your mother didn't die in a rogue attack. She was murdered by council order. I have proof. If you want to know why, meet me in the East Gardens at midnight. Come alone. R.A. It's a trap, Kieran said, reading over her shoulder. He's lying. Is he? Sarah looked up at him. The council orders killings. You said yourself they used to make Omegas disappear. That was decades ago. Was it? She held up the letter. Or did they just get better at hiding it? Kieran's expression went dark. You're not meeting him. That's not your decision. The hell it isn't. He grabbed her wrist, not painfully, but firmly. You're under my protection for 3 months. That means I decide what's safe. I didn't agree to be your prisoner. Sarah yanked free. You said 3 months of whatever you want. Fine. But you don't own my choices. You don't control my past. If you go, you'll die. If I don't go, I'll never know the truth. They stared at each other, wills clashing. Finally, Kieran's expression shifted, calculation replacing anger. Fine, he said coldly. You want to meet the Rogue King? We'll meet him. Together. He said alone. And I said together. Kieran's smile was sharp as broken glass. Ronan wants to play games with what's mine. Then he gets to play by my rules. He looked at Demon. Prepare a security detail. 20 wolves, positioned throughout the gardens. If Ronan makes one wrong move, I want him dead before he hits the ground. Kieran, Sarah started. Those are my terms. His voice went soft, dangerous. You want answers about your mother? Fine. But you get them with me standing between you and whatever trap Ronan's setting. His eyes burned into hers. Non-negotiable. Sarah wanted to argue, wanted to fight for autonomy, for control, for the freedom she'd sacrificed so much to claim. But looking at Kieran, at the deadly certainty in his expression, the barely controlled violence, the absolute refusal to compromise on her safety, she realized something. This wasn't about control. This was about protection. And maybe, just maybe, the difference mattered. "All right," she said quietly. "Together." Kieran nodded once. Midnight. East Gardens. He moved toward the door, then paused. "And Seraphine, whatever Ronan tells you about your mother, remember, truth can be weaponized just as easily as lies." He left, taking Damon with him. Sarah stood alone, the letter burning in her hand. 3 hours until midnight. 3 hours until she learned whether her mother's death had been random violence or calculated murder. 3 hours until she walked into a trap with the Lycan King as her shield. Outside, storm clouds gathered. The moon hid its face, and in the shadows of the Iron Keep, Mira smiled, because chaos was coming. And when the dust settled, she planned to be the only one left standing. The East Gardens were beautiful in the moonlight. Roses bloomed despite the season, their petals black as midnight. Stone paths wound through carefully manicured hedges that created natural labyrinths. Fountains sang with falling water, masking the sound of approaching footsteps. The perfect place for secrets or murder. Sarah walked beside Kieran, hyper-aware of the hidden guards positioned throughout the shadows. She couldn't see them, but she felt their presence. 20 pairs of eyes watching, waiting for violence. "He's already here," Kieran murmured. "North Fountain, alone as promised." "How do you know?" "I can smell him." Kieran's hand found the small of her back. "Stay close. Don't believe everything he says. And if I tell you to run, you run. Understood?" "I won't leave you." "You will." His voice went hard. "Because that's the deal. My protection means you follow my orders when there's danger." Before Sarah could argue, Ronan stepped into view. He looked different up close, younger than she'd expected, maybe 30, with dark hair streaked silver at the temples, and eyes that held too much knowledge. Scars traced his throat and hands, speaking of violence survived. He wore simple clothes, no armor, no weapons visible. But everything about him screamed danger. "Kieran." Ronan's smile was sharp. "Still playing the overprotective king, I see." "Still playing the manipulative bastard," Kieran countered. "Always." Ronan's attention shifted to Sarah. "Seraphine Ashford. You look like your mother. Same eyes, the same stubborn set to your jaw." Sarah's breath caught. "You knew her?" "I did. Before the council decided she was a problem." Ronan moved closer, and Kieran immediately stepped between them. "Relax, old friend. I'm not here to hurt her. I'm here to give her what she deserves." "Which is?" "The truth." Ronan pulled out a folded parchment, old, yellowed with age. "This is a council order from 15 years ago, signed by 3 elders, including one you know well." He held it out. "Read it." Kieran took the document first, scanned it, his expression darkening with each line. Then he handed it to Sarah without comment. She read. The words blurred, then sharpened into devastating clarity. "Council Order Number 847. Eliminate Lyanna Ashford. Target has been spreading seditious ideology regarding Omega autonomy and bond choice. Her influence threatens pack stability. Make it look like a rogue attack. Leave no witnesses. Signed, Elder Morven, Elder Kane, Elder Thorn." The parchment slipped from Sarah's fingers. "My mother," her voice broke. She was murdered because she believed Omegas should have choices? She was leading a rebellion, Ronan said quietly. Quietly, carefully, but effectively. She had dozens of Omegas ready to challenge their assigned bonds. The council panicked. His expression hardened. So they sent hunters dressed as rogues, burned her house, made sure there were no survivors. Except Seraphine, Kieran said, his voice dangerously soft. She survived. I was at a friend's house, Sarah whispered, the memory rushing back. My mother sent me away that morning, told me to stay overnight. Her chest tightened. She knew. She knew they were coming. She sacrificed herself to save you. Ronan's eyes held genuine sympathy, and she made me promise. If anything happened to her, I'd make sure you knew the truth when you were old enough. You're a rogue, Sarah said numbly. Why would she trust you? Because I was Pack then, a beta enforcer. Your mother came to me when she discovered the council was planning to disappear several Omegas who'd refused bonds. Ronan's jaw tightened. I helped them escape. The council found out. I had to choose, follow orders to kill rebels, or become one. So you went rogue. I chose freedom. Ronan looked at Kieran. Something your king here pretends to support, but hasn't actually implemented. I've changed the bond laws, Kieran started. On paper, Ronan interrupted. But the same council members who murdered Lyanna still sit in power, the same elders who've been killing rebels for decades. His eyes flashed. You want real change, Kieran? Start by removing the poison from your own court. Elder Morven, Sarah breathed. She's still here, still making decisions. She tried to coup me 6 months ago, Kieran said flatly. I let her live because executing elders creates instability. It creates justice, Ronan snapped. But you're too political to see it. Too concerned with maintaining order. He looked at Sarah. Your mother died fighting for change, and 15 years later, her killers still walk free. Rage flooded Sarah's veins. Hot, consuming, absolute. Where is she? Where's Morven? Sarah, no! Kieran grabbed her arm. Let go! Her voice came out cold, unfamiliar. You said I had 3 months of whatever you wanted. Fine, I want Morven's head. Revenge won't bring your mother back. Neither will playing politics. Sarah yanked free, facing Kieran with tears streaming down her face. You broke my bond because you said forced bonds were wrong. You killed Callum because he threatened me. But the woman who orchestrated my mother's murder, she gets to live because executing her is inconvenient? Kieran's expression fractured. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. Sarah's voice shook with fury. Either you believe Omegas deserve justice or you don't. Either my mother's death matters, or it doesn't. Of course it matters. Then prove it. She held his gaze, channeling every ounce of pain and rage into her stare. Give me Morven. Or admit you're exactly what Ronan says, a king who talks about change but protects murderers when it's politically convenient. Silence stretched between them. Ronan watched with calculating interest. The hidden guards waited for orders, and Kieran, the Lycan king, the Blood Crown, the most dangerous wolf in existence, looked at the Omega he'd claimed and realized he'd underestimated her completely. You want Morven? He said quietly, dangerously. Fine, we'll bring her to trial. Publicly. Let the evidence speak. Trials can be manipulated, Ronan interjected. The council protects its own. Not this time. Kieran's eyes never left Sarah. This time, I'm prosecutor, judge, and executioner if necessary. He stepped closer. But understand this, Seraphine. Once we start down this path, there's no turning back. Morven has allies. Executing a council elder will fracture the kingdom. Good, Sarah said coldly. Let it fracture. Some things are worth breaking the world for. Kieran's smile was terrible and beautiful. Careful, little Omega. You're starting to sound like a queen. Maybe that's what you need. Something ignited in Kieran's expression. Hunger, approval, desire all tangled together. Maybe it is, he murmured. Ronan cleared his throat. As touching as this is, we have a problem. Morven knows about this meeting. She has spies everywhere. His expression turned grim. By morning, she'll either run or strike first. You have hours, not days. Then we move tonight. Chiron's command voice returned. Demon, he called to the shadows, and his strategist materialized instantly. Arrest Elder Morven. Charge her with murder, conspiracy, and treason. If she resists, use whatever force necessary. With pleasure, Your Majesty. Demon disappeared. Kieran looked at Ronan. You have more evidence? Everything you need. Ronan handed over a leather satchel. Witness testimonies, council meeting transcripts, payment records to the hunters, enough to bury her twice over. Why give this to me? Why help? Ronan's smile was enigmatic. Because Lyanna Ashford deserved better. And because, his eyes flicked to Sarah. Her daughter might be the catalyst this kingdom needs to actually change. Before Kieran could respond, an explosion rocked the castle. Fire erupted from the east wing, Sarah's wing, flames reaching toward the sky. That's not Morven running, Ronan said grimly. That's her declaring war. Chaos erupted. Guards poured from every direction, shouting orders. Wolves shifted mid-run, racing toward the flames. Kieran's hand clamped around Sarah's wrist, already pulling her away from the gardens. The east wing, Sarah started, is a message, Kieran finished grimly. She's telling me she knows where you sleep, where you're vulnerable. His jaw set. Demon, status report. A guard materialized from the smoke. Elder Morven's chambers are empty. She fled before we arrived. The fire started in 3 locations simultaneously. Calculated arson, not accident. Casualties? 2 servants. Both Omegas. The guard's expression darkened. They were locked in their rooms. Sarah's stomach dropped. She murdered her own people. To send a message, Ronan said, appearing beside them. Morven's saying she'll burn the kingdom before she lets you expose her. Then she's chosen death. Kieran's voice went cold, lethal. Lock down the castle. No one enters or leaves without my personal authorization. I want Morven found and brought to me alive. He paused, his smile vicious. Alive enough to stand trial anyway. Guards scattered. You need to leave, Kieran told Sarah. The keep isn't safe. Neither is anywhere else. Sarah pulled free from his grip. If I run, Morven wins. She gets to control the narrative. Claim I'm manipulating you. Turn your own counsel against you. Her voice steadied. I'm not hiding. You're not trained for this. Neither was my mother. Sarah met his eyes. But she fought anyway, and so will I. Something flickered across Kieran's face. Pride mixed with fear. You're going to get yourself killed. Then die protecting me. Isn't that what you promised? Before Kieran could respond, Mira burst into the courtyard, her dress singed, face streaked with soot. The council chambers. Morven left something for you. They ran. The council chambers were untouched by fire, but violated in worse ways. Every wall was covered in painted accusations, dripping red like blood. The Omega whore controls the king, break the bond, or burn the throne. Morven sees all. And in the center of the room, pinned to the high table with a dagger, another parchment. Kiran grabbed it, read aloud. You want justice, little Omega? Come find me. Midnight tomorrow. The old temple where your mother died. Come alone, or I start killing every Omega in the kingdom, 1 per hour, until you comply. Your move, whore. Sarah's blood turned to ice. She's insane. She's cornered, Ronan corrected, which makes her infinitely more dangerous. He looked at Kiran. You can't let Sarah go. I'm not. Yes, you are. Sarah snatched the parchment. Because if I don't, innocent Omegas die. People like me. People my mother tried to save. Her hands shook, but her voice didn't. I won't let her kill them because of me. It's a trap, Kiran said flatly. She'll torture you for information, then kill you anyway. Maybe. Sarah lifted her chin. Or maybe I kill her first. You don't know how. Then teach me. She grabbed his arm. You have 24 hours. Teach me to fight. Teach me to survive. And then let me finish what my mother started. Kiran stared at her like she'd grown a second head. You're serious. Completely. You'll die. Probably. Sarah's smile was sharp, unfamiliar. But at least it'll be my choice. The words hung between them, weighted with implications. Finally, Kiran laughed. Dark, impressed, dangerous. All right? Little Omega, you want to play assassin? He pulled her close, his voice dropping to something intimate and terrifying. Then we do this my way. No arguments, no hesitation. I say run, you run. I say kill, you kill. Understood? Understood. And if you die, his hand cupped her face, I'm burning the whole kingdom down in revenge. Dramatic. Accurate. Kiran's thumb traced her jaw. You've become important, Seraphine. Dangerous. How important? Is that a problem? It's a complication. His eyes searched hers. But I'm starting to think complications are underrated. He kissed her. Not gentle. Not careful. Hard and claiming and desperate. Like he was trying to memorize the taste of her before she disappeared forever. When he pulled back, Sarah was breathless. Training starts now, Kiran said. No sleep, no breaks. 24 hours to turn you into something that can survive Morven. His smile was predatory. Think you can handle it? Sarah thought about her mother, about the Omegas Morven had murdered, about the future she'd chosen when she'd begged a stranger to kiss her. Try me, she said. Kiran's answering grin was pure sin. Let's go to war, little Omega. Hours blurred together. Kiran was a brutal teacher. He taught her dirty fighting, eye gouges, throat strikes, how to use her smaller size as advantage, how to kill quickly, efficiently, without hesitation. Ronan joined them, adding tricks rogues used. Poison application, pressure points, how to fake weakness to create openings. Demon contributed strategy, exit routes, reading terrain, psychological warfare. By dawn, Sarah's body was covered in bruises, her hands raw, her muscles screaming. But her eyes were clear, focused, hard. She wasn't the same Omega who'd begged for a kiss at a festival. She was something else now, something dangerous. Last lesson, Kiran said, as sunrise painted the training yard gold. He handed her a blade, silver, perfectly balanced. When you face Morven, she'll try to talk, justify. manipulate. His expression went cold. Don't listen. Don't hesitate. Just kill her, Sarah finished. Yes. She tested the blade's weight. It felt right, like it had been waiting for her. What if I can't? She asked quietly. What if, when the moment comes, I freeze? Kieran stepped close, his hand covering hers on the blade. Then I'll do it for you. But I don't think you will. His eyes burned into hers. I think you're exactly what this kingdom needs. What I need. A killer. A queen. The word stole her breath. I'm not. Not yet, Kieran agreed. But you will be. He leaned in, his lips brushing her ear. If you survive tonight. Sarah shivered. And if I don't? Then I'll make sure Morven regrets killing you until her dying breath. His voice promised violence, which won't take long. The sun crested the horizon. 12 hours until midnight. 12 hours until Sarah walked into the temple where her mother died. 12 hours until everything changed. Again. The old temple looked exactly like the nightmares. Crumbling stone, dead vines crawling up walls that had witnessed too much death. The altar where her mother had bled out 20 years ago still stained dark. No amount of rain able to wash away what had happened there. Sarah stood at the entrance, silver blade cold against her palm. Behind her, hidden in the shadows, Kieran and his wolves waited. She had insisted on walking in alone, Morven's terms, but Kieran had made it clear, if Sarah did not walk back out in 10 minutes, he was burning the temple down with Morven inside. I know you're here, Sarah called, her voice echoing off ancient stone. Laughter answered, cold, brittle, mad. Elder Morven stepped from behind the altar, her ceremonial robe stained with ash and what looked disturbingly like blood. Her eyes gleamed with something beyond sanity, the look of someone who had already lost and refused to accept it. You came, Morven said, almost surprised. I wondered if the Lycan king would let his little whore out of his sight. He doesn't let me do anything, Sarah replied calmly. I make my own choices. That's why I'm here. To kill me? Morven's smile twisted. With that tiny blade? You're just like your mother, delusional about your own strength. Sarah's grip tightened. My mother was brave. She fought for Omegas who had no voice. You murdered her for it. I saved the kingdom. Morven's voice cracked. Your mother would have destroyed everything, convinced Omegas they deserved choice, convinced them bonds were negotiable. The hierarchy exists for a reason. To protect people like you, Sarah said quietly. People who profit from suffering. Morven lunged. No warning, no hesitation, just violence. But Sarah had been trained by a king who understood brutality. She sidestepped, letting Morven's momentum carry her past. The elder crashed into the altar, snarling. 24 hours, Sarah said, circling. That's how long I spent learning to survive you. Learning that monsters bleed just like anyone else. Morven grabbed a ceremonial dagger from the altar. Then let's see who bleeds first. They collided. Sarah was smaller, younger, less experienced, but she was faster. And more importantly, she had been trained to fight dirty. Eye strikes, throat jabs, pressure points Ronan had made her memorize. Morven fought with desperation. Sarah fought with purpose. The blade found flesh. Morven gasped, stumbling back. Blood bloomed across her side. Not fatal, but enough. Enough to show she wasn't invincible. You should have stayed away, Morven hissed. should have let history stay buried. History repeats when we let it, Sarah replied. I'm here to make sure my mother's death meant something. She struck again, faster, cleaner. The silver blade found Morven's heart. The elder's eyes went wide, disbelieving, like she had genuinely thought she was untouchable. This is for my mother, Sarah whispered. For every Omega you silenced. For every life you destroyed. Morven collapsed, dead before she hit the stone. Sarah stood over the body, blade dripping, heart pounding. She expected to feel triumph, satisfaction, something. Instead, she just felt tired. It's over, she said to the empty temple. Behind her, Kieran emerged from the shadows. He had given her 8 minutes alone, longer than he had promised, but not by much. He took in the scene. Morven's body, Sarah's blood-splattered hands, the exhaustion in her eyes. How do you feel? He asked quietly. Like I just killed someone, Sarah said. Like it was necessary and terrible, and I'll never forget this moment. Kieran stepped closer, gently took the blade from her shaking hands. That's what makes you different from her. She never questioned. You'll carry this. Is that supposed to comfort me? It's supposed to remind you that you're still human. Sarah looked at him. This king who had crashed into her life with impossible offers and dangerous promises, who had trained her to kill, who had let her choose violence when he could have commanded her to stay safe. I want to go home, she whispered. Kieran pulled her close, his arms careful around her trembling frame. Then let's go home. 3 months. That had been the original bargain. 3 months of whatever Kieran wanted in exchange for freedom from Callum's bond. That deadline had passed 2 weeks ago. Sarah stood on the castle balcony, watching the sunset paint the kingdom in shades of gold and crimson. Below, wolves gathered for the evening meal, packs from across the kingdom, here for the first council summit since Morven's death. Everything had changed. The council had been reformed. Half the old guard stripped of power, replaced by wolves who had actually lived under the bond laws they had enforced. New legislation passed. Omegas could refuse bonds without justification. Alphas who forced compliance faced exile. The hierarchy remained, but the cruelty was being systematically dismantled. It was everything her mother had died for, and it terrified Sarah how easily she had gotten used to being at the center of it. You're thinking too loud, Kieran said, appearing beside her with 2 glasses of wine. Sarah accepted one, smiling. Just wondering when you're going to remind me my 3 months are up. Ah, Kieran leaned against the railing, his expression unreadable. About that. Her heart stuttered. About what? I lied, he said simply. Sarah blinked. About? The bond breaking. When I severed your connection to Callum, Kieran's mouth curved in something between a smile and a grimace. I may have also created a new connection. Between us. The world tilted. What? Not a forced bond, he said quickly. Nothing like what Callum tried to impose, but a possibility. A foundation that could become a mate bond if we both chose it. His eyes met hers. I didn't plan it. Didn't expect it. The magic just recognized something. Sarah set her wine glass down before she dropped it. You've known this entire time? Since the first night. And you didn't tell me. Because I wanted you to choose me without knowing. Kieran's voice roughened. I wanted you to stay because you wanted to, not because some mystical bond told you to. I wanted— He broke off, jaw tight. I wanted to earn you. Sarah stared at him. This king who had commanded armies, unified packs, survived assassination attempts, and he had been afraid she wouldn't choose him. You're an idiot, she said. Kieran's eyebrows rose. Excuse me. 3 months. You gave me 3 months to decide if I wanted freedom or you. Sarah stepped closer. What you didn't consider is that maybe, for me, you are freedom. His breath caught. Sarah, I choose you, she said. Not because of a bond, not because you're a king, not because you killed for me or taught me to kill. I choose you because when I told you I was afraid of being owned. You spent 3 months proving you'd rather lose me than cage me. Kieran's hand cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheek. I'm still a king. Still dangerous. Still the man who knelt before his council to defend my right to choose, Sarah finished. Still the man who trusted me to face Morven. Still the man who sees me as a partner, not property. She smiled. Still the man I'm hopelessly, dangerously in love with. The words hung between them, weighted with meaning. Then Kieran kissed her. Not like that first kiss at the festival when she had been running from Callum. Not like the desperate kisses before battle. This was different. Claiming and tender, and absolutely certain. When he pulled back, his eyes gleamed gold. The bond, he said roughly. If you want it. If you're sure. I'm sure, Sarah said. But Kieran, this time, we do it right. No bargains, no conditions, no 3-month trials. No chains, he agreed. Just choice. Just us. The mate bond settled over them like moonlight. Warm, inevitable, right. Not the iron chains of Callum's forced bond. Not the desperate escape of the blood rite. This was different. This was chosen. 6 months later, Sarah stood before the council as Luna. Not because she had been claimed, but because she had claimed herself. She wore no crown, carried no title beyond her name. But when she spoke, wolves listened. Today marks the official end of assigned bonds, she said, her voice carrying across the chamber. Every Omega in this kingdom now has the right to choose, to refuse, to walk away. She paused. Some of you fought this change. Some of you still believe the old ways were better. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. But here's what I know, Sarah continued. My mother died because she believed Omegas deserved choice. Elder Morven killed her because she feared that choice would destroy the hierarchy. And you know what? She was right. Shocked silence. The old hierarchy is being destroyed. The one built on force and fear and treating people like property. We're building something new, something better. A hierarchy based on mutual respect, on earned authority, on bonds that strengthen us instead of breaking us. She looked at Kieran, standing beside her, King and Luna, equal. We're proving you can have strength and choice, power and compassion, tradition and change. Sarah's smile was sharp. And anyone who thinks otherwise is welcome to challenge me. No one moved. Because the Omega who had begged a stranger to kiss her at a festival had become something else. Something dangerous. Something free. That night, alone in their chambers, Kieran pulled Sarah close. Do you ever regret it? he asked quietly. That night at the temple, the deal I offered. Sarah thought about the girl she had been, desperate, terrified, willing to bleed herself on an altar for freedom. I regret nothing, she said. Not the fear, not the violence, not the impossible choice you gave me. She kissed him softly. Because it led here. To a kingdom in chaos. To a kingdom being reborn. Sarah's smile was radiant. To a mate who chose me back. To a life I actually want to live. Kieran's arms tightened around her. I love you, Seraphine Ashford. My Luna. My equal. My choice. I love you too, she whispered. My king, my partner, my home. Outside, the moon rose over the kingdom, full and bright and promising. Inside, two wolves who had found each other in blood and desperation finally rested, not as captor and captive, not as king and subject, but as two souls who had chosen each other, freely, completely, forever. And in the end, that choice made all the difference. Thank you for listening to Moonlight Romance Library. Subscribe now, join the pack, and let the moon guide you back for the next story.